Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to those who are joined together here in the Mishkan at Holy Blossom Temple, and Shabbat Shalom to those who are joining us from home. We are now going to use our power of imagination and join together as one congregation, joining voice to voice, heart to heart, neshama to neshama. Page 105. For those who are just joining us, you can find the prayer for the candlelighting on page 106. Those who are joining from home, the link to Sidur Pirchei Kodesh should be just an inch or two away from you on the screen. And we invite Lee Sklar to lead us in the candle lighting. And we have 4 additional sets of candles on this side. So for families or individuals who'd like to come and join Lise, but you'll do these over here. Yeah. So please come on up. These candles are waiting for you, begging to be lit. Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kitzanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitzanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בשרו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו לגויים כבודו, לכל מלבבותיו, כי גדול אדוני ולא מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. לה 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 easy words. La 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 la. Page 109. Yismechu. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Yeram hayam. Yeram hayam. Yeram hayam. Yeram hayam. Yeram hayam. Yeram hayam. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. In the middle of page 111, Zamru Ladonai Bechinor. Play to the eternal with lyre, and the voice of song. Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, Bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayam umlo, tevel v'yoshveiva. Neharot imcha uchav, yachad harim yironeinu, lifnei Adonai kiva, lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel b'tzedek, ve'amim b'meisharim. Yiram hayam umlo, tevel v'yoshveiva. Neharot imcha uchav, yachad harim yironeinu. Oh, needs more Ladafi. Sorry. Sorry. Never mind. Go ahead. We're going to do the Haggadah.
On Shabbat, a holy day, we enter into the holiness of Shabbat, and we have time to reflect on our own potential for holiness, on our own potential to do sacred deeds, to be part of the enterprise of bringing sanctity and holiness into the world. The 14th century poet wrote this, entitled, "Now is the time." Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce, a truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels, to be laid aside when you finally live with veracity and love. Each of us is a divine envoy, whom the Beloved has written a holy message upon. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and God? What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. And with that, we turn towards Shabbat, to greet Shabbat, to welcome Shabbat, to be overcome by Shabbat and its sanctity. Page 115.
לחדותי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, להגיד בבוקר חסדיך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נווה, Tzadik katam yifrach ke'erez bavanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu o genuvun beseva Deshenim verananim yiyu lechagiv ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatabo.
Page 119, we rise together in prayer.
Lai la lai 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 da 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 lai 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 da 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 lai 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 da 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai Amevorach Baruch Adonai Amevorach Amevorach Leolam Vaed Hamevorach, Hamevorach, Leolam Vaed.
Baruch
Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher bidvarom ariv aravim, b'chokhmah potech she'arim, uvitvuna meshana itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Together, let's pray together in English. Unending love have you shown your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, law and precepts have you taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will reflect on the meaning of your laws and rejoice in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever. For they are our life and the length of our days. On them we will meditate day and night. May your love never depart from us. Praised are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
V'yavatecha al tasir mimenu leolamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem kivon malto leolam vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 124. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone are our God, there is none else, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign. You deliver us from the hands of oppressors and save us from the fists of tyrants. You do wonders without number, marvels that surpass our understanding. You give us our life. By your help we survive, all who seek our destruction. You did wonders for us in the land of Egypt, miracles and marvels in the land of Pharaoh. You led your people Israel out forever to serve you in freedom. When your children witnessed your power, they extolled you and gave you thanks. Willingly they enthroned you, and full of joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang this song.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקר הים לפני משה. זה לי ענו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדרנו את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, וחניתנו מלכנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך.
Grant that we may
You lie down in
peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O Sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war and famine and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. Guard our coming and our going, that now and always we may have life and peace. Praised are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת. השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ויעלמד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ויומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ביעלמה ואמרו Amen.
We rise for the Amidah, page 128, and we'll begin with the words that are attributed to none other than King David himself, who was a great warrior, who was a great king of Israel, and yet with these few words, he admits that he is powerless to pray, and he is dependent upon God to open his mouth, to reach down deep into his neshama, and to pull out a beautifully composed prayer, a sincere prayer. That is our wish as well tonight. If any of us should come with any feelings of inadequacy in the quest to pray with sincerity, these are the words which will give us confidence that God will help us to find these words of praise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Neihem L'Mahan Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufokei Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye Meitim Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Marid HaGashem B'chesed Mechaye Meitim Berachamim Rabim Somer Doflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micha Mocha Bal Gevurot Umito Melach Melech Meimit Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua ונאמנתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים כל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue with our personal prayers on and off the page, on and off script, through page 136. We turn to page 137 for our prayers for healing. On this Remembrance Day, when we acknowledge and remember and honor those who defended and defend freedom abroad, those who fought for and fight for human rights and human dignity over the ocean and fight against tyranny in far-off places, we also must remember on a day like this that there is work to be done right here, right where we live, to bring human dignity, to protect human rights for those who are still without, those who still yearn for full access to the human rights that are every citizen's blessing. So as we turn to these prayers for healing, we want to acknowledge those within our borders, the Indigenous and First Nations peoples who are still seeking restoration. And we ask that God will bless them, and we ask one another to do our part in this process of truth and reconciliation, the healing of the land and the seas and the healings of the relationships among all the peoples of this good country. We also turn to the prayers of healing that are most personal for those among us who are in need of healing of the body and healing of the spirit. We call to mind the friends and family of our loved ones who are in need of a refuah shlema. They are Johanna Falk, Chana bat Gittel, Sarah Leah bat Moshe Meir v'Naomi, Miriam bat Binyamin v'Sarah Leah, Joel Sears, Gittel Yaakova bat Shmuel v'Sarah, Moshe Gershon ben Baruch Shalom Chaim v'Rachel Leah, Eliyahu ben Chaim Yitzchak v'Rachel, Chana Gittel bat Moshe v'Geula, Tzvi ben David v'Esther, Sarah bat Devorah, bat Sheva Shulamit bat Menachem v'Chaya Rachel, Chanoch ben Esther u'Pinchas, Bracha bat Zisel, Tema Gentles, Bela bat Yosef v'Streichel. And are there any other names we wish to call into our prayers for healing tonight? Refuah shlema.
Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Mishaberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah,
enough to learn from Rabbi Professor Larry Hoffman this week. He returned to Holy Blossom to give the second annual memorial lecture in honor of Rabbi Mark Dov Shapiro, Alav Hashalom, who served as our assistant rabbi from 1977 to 1982. Rabbi Hoffman is a masterful scholar of Jewish liturgy, a teacher of and a student of the sociology of prayer and of synagogue life in general. And we have been shaped by his many decades of leadership. In fact, all of North American Jewry and beyond, liberal Jewry everywhere, has been shaped by Rabbi Hoffman's teachings. This summer, I was invited to contribute a chapter to a festschrift that's being published to honor Rabbi Hoffman's legacy, which is still ongoing, still in the making. And that's a real honor for me. My assignment was to write a reflection on the theme of an address that Rabbi Hoffman gave many years ago about authenticity, about Jewish authenticity, and specifically about authenticity in prayer. He spoke this week about what is authentic Jewish spirituality, how to recognize it when you see it, how to recognize it when you are engaged in it, and how to pursue it. So I had a chance to study and to write in celebration of Rabbi Hoffman's countless contributions, and I'd like to share a bit of it with you tonight. There are two aspects to the adjective authentic. One has to do with having traditional origins, as in, this is an authentic document, or this is authentic Italian cuisine. The other aspect of the adjective authentic has to do with being true to one's own beliefs, one's own spirit, one's own character. The former, like the authentic Italian cuisine, requires some kind of consensus among the collective. The former, which has to do with being true to one's own beliefs, spirit, and character, well, that is up to the individual. It can be determined, authenticity can only be determined by oneself for oneself. The former, like an authentic document, has to be agreed upon by the collective, and that resembles the keva of Jewish prayer, everything that is fixed in Jewish prayer. The other kind of authenticity, the belief, the spirit, the character that is determined by the self, this represents what we call kavanah in Jewish prayer, the intention of an individual person that turns the words in the page, the keva on the page, and lifts them Godward into as true prayer. So, is the prayer constructed authentically, theologically speaking, by melody, poetry, form, and setting? All those things the collective gets to decide. We get to decide. Is the prayer delivered authentically? Is the prayer offered up with sincerity? Well, that only the individual can know. Each one of us gets to decide. Was this an authentic prayer that I just offered up? Without the authentic expression of the individual, the rituals are at risk of becoming rote and the prayer only performative. And on the other hand, without the people's seal of authenticity, worship is at risk of being creative art at best, and I love creative arts, but it's not the same as prayer. Prayer can be artful, thanks to our musicians, for example, and our architects and our artists, but it's not the same as prayer itself. And without the people's seal of authenticity, worship, God forbid, can be idolatry. So how do you say authentic in modern Hebrew? Israelis, to my great surprise and regret, say atenti. But there is an authentic Hebrew Jewish word for authentic, and that is amiti, emet, truth. And where do we find this word highlighted? In the Geulah prayer. In the morning Geulah prayer, there's a long list, emet v'yatziv, v'ahuv v'haviv, all about how the authentic devotion to God is steadfast and true and repeated, ledor vador, generation after generation. But then there's a surprise twist in the Geulah prayer, and it says something about shira chadasha, that there must be a new song. So it's this gorgeous combination between what is inherited, what we have received, what is our sacred inheritance, and how do we make it new in each and every generation? How do we make it new with each and every voice, with each and every neshama? And so even in that prayer itself, which begins with the word emet, truth and authenticity, we have this marrying and melding of what is keva and what is kavanah. So in the chapter that I've written to honor Rabbi Hoffman, I call up two different versions of a scene about the Geulah prayer as recorded in two separate places of the Talmud. And I'll share them quickly with you now. When you take them together, they come as a kind of warning against reductive prayer and expansive prayer. So, Act 1. In Masechet Yoma, the Babylonian sages reinstate Moses' prayer, where it is written in Deuteronomy, right here, Moses said, Ha'el hagadol v'had gibor v'hanorah. God is great, mighty, and awesome. And that is authentic prayer. Its place is secured in our own Amidah. We say those words, just exactly those words, as they came to us from Moses. However, it's noted that the prophet Jeremiah, who witnessed the destruction of Jerusalem's temple and all of that suffering, omitted the word norah. He omitted the word awesome from his own personal prayer. He said, the great God, mighty Adonai Tzvaot, is God's name. No mention of God's awesome power, because in his time it seemed that God was rendered powerless. Similarly, Daniel, the biblical Daniel, who saw his people enslaved in his own time, admitted the word mighty. Which one is it? Gibor. Gibor does not appear in Daniel's prayer. Instead, he said, the great and awesome God, and left it at that. And so our sages ask, how could Jeremiah and Daniel uproot an ordinance that was instituted by none other than Moses? How dare they change the words of authentic prayer that came down through the generations? Rabbi Elazar explains they did so because they knew that the Holy One, blessed be God, is truthful and hates lies. Meaning, since Jeremiah and Daniel did not personally perceive God's attributes of might and awesomeness respectively, they chose to offer up only prayers which were authentic to their own life experiences, and that is exactly as God would have wanted it. On the one hand, the rabbis seem to praise Jeremiah and Daniel for their commitment to only pray what they mean and to mean what they pray. On the other hand, in the end, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, one of the greats, stands up and gives ultimate praise to the rabbis of the Great Assembly who, quote, returned the crown of the Holy One to its former glory by reaffirming Moses' original script. And they're able to make those words ring true again in their own age. So there seems to be a hierarchy of needs in prayer. Only pray what is authentic to your experience, but even greater is to find your way to infuse the original words, the inherited words, with new meaning so that you can offer them with all sincerity. Act 2. Elsewhere in Masechet Megillah of the Babylonian Talmud, there it relates that an unnamed prayer leader came before the Aron HaKodesh, before the Holy Ark, and didn't diminish Moses' words, but expanded Moses' words. What did he say? God, the great, the mighty, and awesome, and the powerful, the strong, and the fearless. Rabbi Hanina was part of the congregation that day, and after the service, privately scolded the prayer leader for doubling the number of praises for God. He said, "Is it comparable to a man who possesses many thousands of gold dinars, yet they were praising him for owning 1,000 silver ones?" What did he mean by that? All the praises one can lavish upon the eternal God is as nothing but a few silver dinars. And so reciting a litany of praise does not in any way enhance God's glory, which is priceless. You can go on and on and on. We could pray until the morning Shema, and it wouldn't increase God's glory in any way. Therefore, we ought to stick to the script, which we have inherited from Moses. Its provenance makes it also priceless. So in this version of the story, there is another hierarchy established about prayer. More honorable than one's sincere and innovative prayer is the original. Rabbi Hanina, as the authoritative voice of the community of his time, delivers to that nameless Nebuch prayer leader a lesson in humility, as the act of prayer itself is a practice in humility. The simple reading of these two stories, these two Talmudic acts about the Geulah prayer, these twin stories teach us that less is more. And they demonstrate that authentic prayer is bottomless but not boundless. The depth of the kavanah that each one of us brings is essential, and only the individual can judge one's own devotion. However, the breadth of the keva, of what is fixed in prayer, is not infinite. We have a siddur that is bound by two covers. Over all the time and space Jewish prayer has traveled, the innovations have been expansive but not boundless. The core texts and forms are remarkably controlled and confined, considering our migrations and foreign influences. This, too, is an act of faith. This healthy tension between the authenticity of the self and the authenticity of the collective is one of the unarticulated secrets of Jewish life. And the drama is played out most gloriously in the prayer arena when we introduce ourselves to God, who is the Chacham Harazim, the knower of secrets. Shabbat Shalom. We turn back to the prayer book now, page 139, and we rise in body and spirit.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, la'tekedu la'leotzer breshit, shelo asanu ki goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yoser Haaretz, U'moshav Yekaro b'Shamayim Imal, U'Shechinatu Zo, B'Gafei Meromim. Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efesulato, Kakatu Bitorato, Diadata Hayom Behashevota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Bashamayim Imal, Ve'al Haaretz, Mitachat Einod, V'nemar, Ve'yadonai, Melech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yehi Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
As we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish found on page 142, we invite the mourners among us to rise in your place so we might acknowledge you and extend our condolences to you if you are marking Yortzeit this day or remembering a loved one who has died within the year. Today we mark the Yortzeit of Saul Ackler, Ray Atlin, George Avery Ben Axelrod, Jacob Ben Dayan, Miriam Berger, Fanny Berinsky, Henrietta Chesney, Irvin L. Cohen, Bernard Davis, Julian Druyan, Bertha Eisen, Max Eisen, Maurice Eisendrath, Murray Etlin, Paul Fingold, Simon Freems, Al Gardner, Harry Goldstein, Ralph Gorin, D. Lou Harris, Sidney Eisman, Jack Kamarner, Richard K., Mary Krugel, Tamara Ashley Levine, Joyce Libman Feinberg, Jacob Seymour Locketts, Lila Mogolansky, Arnold Nierenberg, Bernard Persico, Asher Pritzker, Wendy Sassaman, Louis Saunders, Laura Schechter, Tommy Schlanger, Frida Schuster, Mira Schwartz, Morris Senderowitz, Joseph Shapiro, Melvin Shearer, Esther Shesko, Hannah Schlesinger, William Shore, Harry Smith, Ruth Smith, Lyle Stanway, Joanne Steinberg, Samuel Tile, Fritz Warschauer, Margaret Weisberg, Manya Winokur, Nathan Udashkin, Kathy Zalvin, and Bella Zweig. We also remember those who died most recently and whose families are in the period of Shloshim. They are Fred Baker, Earl Biederman, Martin Blackstein, Joseph Davio, Jack Diamond, Lawrence Hausman, Jeff Nuttall, Joyce Rothman, Miriam Rumack, Leon Zelevitsky, and we regret to announce the passing of Marvin Goodman, who is the husband of our past president, Diana Goodman, and father of Sarah, Bob, Ray, and Marcy. His funeral will be here at Holy Blossom 10:30 on Sunday. Are there any other names to remember this day? And we also add to these names the 24 fallen soldiers of our congregation, those who served and made the ultimate sacrifice in World War I or World War II. And maybe we'll all stand together now to honor them. They fought in service of their country and in opposition to tyranny everywhere. They are John Alfred Benjamin, Sidney Brown, Zave Brown, Leonard Cohen, Meyer T. Cohen, M. Kenneth Emsig, David J. Freifelt, Albert Glazer, Fred B. Harris, Morton Heinisch, Theodore Herman, Daniel L. Jacobs, Julius Kramer, George Meltz, Howard Mitchell, Lambert Nussbaum, David Rateblatt, Lionel Rohr, Martin Rohr, Arthur Rotenberg, Cecil Samuel, William Schwartz, Henry B. Siegel, and Lou Warren Summers. Zichronam livracha. May the memories of each one be for a blessing. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to those among us who are bereaved. And together we say amen.
Ose shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Kiddush can be found on page 439. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikrai kodesh, Zeicher letziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidasha mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. And is there anyone who is not yet the age of B'nai Mitzvah yet? Oh, there you are. Come on up. Come help with Motzi. It means you get the first piece, the most delicious slice. Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem